Okie doke. So, like I said before, you can put roasted vegetables as a meal component into a lot of different finished meals. Today I want to toss the roasted vegetables with some beans and rice. So I cooked some black beans and rice off earlier. I'm going to dress those up a little bit with a vinaigrette that we're going to make right now. And then once the roasted vegetables are done, I'm going to top the beans and rice in the vinaigrette with the roasted vegetables and call that a delicious meal. Also, I'm going to put the roasted vegetables on a frozen pizza. Yes, you are watching a cooking video of somebody making a frozen pizza. But I'm going to dress it up with these veggies and make something a lot nicer out of it. So to make the vinaigrette, basically you're going to mix some oil and some vinegar together with salt, pepper, and spices. If you want a little bit more freshness in your dish, I would recommend some fresh herbs. I got just some curly parsley. We used to call this Denny's parsley from the store. And you know, I'm not going to be super worried about getting every last little bunch of leaves. You can if you want, it's all good, but this isn't going in the compost, this is going in my stock bag. And kind of the way I think about it is it just makes my next batch of stock and therefore my next soup even more flavorful if there's a little bit of extra stuff that goes in there. So that also helps me spend a little bit less time in the kitchen by worrying less about my knife cuts so much. Got the parsley in the bowl. Now I'm just going to add ingredients for the vinaigrette right into the bowl and mix it together. Call it good. So let's see, what do I want to put in? This, a little bit of this. How about this? Yeah, that'll be good. All right. So, apple cider vinegar. One of the sweeter vinegars out there. Classic vinaigrette ratio is 3 parts oil to 1 part acid. Acid being a vinegar or lemon juice, something like that. I find that to be a little bit oily and a little bit bland, honestly. So I go a little bit closer to 1 to 1. But again, this is just personal preference. Correct way of making a vinaigrette is to very slowly whisk in the oil, you know, a couple drops at a time, but we're cooking at home now. And again, I'm going to toss this with some stuff, so in the act of tossing it, it's going to get, the stuff that I toss it with is going to get a little bit of each of the ingredients on it. I added some molasses. That adds depth of flavor and a little bit of sweetness, molasses being a byproduct of refining sugar. So let's talk about balancing flavors. This is an easy way to make all of your food taste good forever. It's really simple. There's only 5 things you can taste. Everything else that we think of as the flavor of a food is smell and texture. But there's only 5 things. You can taste sweet, you can taste sour, you can taste salty, you can taste bitter, and you can taste richness. Richness is sometimes called umami. People sometimes argue that you can taste spicy. To my mind, spicy doesn't really taste like something. It's not a flavor, it's more of a sensation. I love spicy. To my mind, it kind of just makes things, everything more awake and kind of perk up. Not so much a flavor. The point being, if you're making food and your food needs something, it's one of those 5 things, because those are the only 5 things that we can taste. So if you ask your palate, I know this is kind of weird, but like just taste something and then think about it. Ask your palate, what does it need? Does it need more salt? Does it need more acid? Does it need maybe something bitter? Does it need something maybe sour? Did I say acid already? I probably did. Sweet, sour, salty, acid. Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami. Got it. So, cool thing about molasses is that it adds a little bit of richness, it adds a little bit of bitterness too, and a little bit of sweetness. The vinegar mostly adds acid. Apple cider vinegar is among the sweeter of the vinegars, also adds a little bit of sweetness. Now, sweet and salty are a little easier on the palate. Those are kind of the flavors that we liked more when we were kids, most of us. Sour and bitter are a little bit tougher on the palate. So sweet and salty flavors tend to balance out sour and bitter flavors. So if your dish is a little bit sweet, for example, try adding something acidic, like some lemon juice to it, and that will balance it out. The way I have always taught how flavors balance in when I'm teaching classes is a scale. So the scale's right here. This is basically how flavor works. Big secret revealed. So we've got apple cider vinegar, oil, parsley, molasses. I've got a spice blend. That's an Ethiopian spice blend called berbere. It's used in a lot of Ethiopian dishes, like Dora Wat, that chicken, spicy kind of chicken stew is one of those. It's got a little spice to it. Just got a lot of really good aromatics. So it's going to add delicious flavor to the vinaigrette. Oh, got some nutritional yeast too. This mostly adds more richness, more umami. And I'm actually not going to put pepper in because it's got enough spice from the berbere. Just going to put some salt in. And I'm going to mix it up. Whisk it up. It has a lot of herbs, so let's make it into more of an herby vinaigrette rather than a wet bowl of herbs. Grab a tasting spoon. Getting good. I can taste the richness, it's good there. I can taste the sweetness, it's good there. Definitely has a lot of depth of flavor. Has brightness and freshness from the parsley. Needs some more salt. Adding the salt. I'm actually going to add a little bit more vinegar. Yep, we're there. Okay. Vinaigrette is ready. Let's put together our beans and rice with the vinaigrette. So some black beans in. Some, not all of this rice, about as much volume-wise as we had black beans. It's good. And some of this vinaigrette. Vinaigrette again. Easy and effective way to dress up something that's simple and cheap. Make it taste good. There we go. There's the beans and rice with the vinaigrette. Just waiting for the roasted veggies.